Hi, I'm Alicia Toot from music blog Yeah, and I'm sitting with Keith from Atlas Genius. How are you doing today?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks for asking. So we know that you're now currently on tour with Family of the Year and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr. So how's the tour going so far?
It's been good. It's close to I think 2 weeks so far, and we've already travelled from one side of the country to the other. We started in California, and we've come across. So it's been good. The show's been great.
All right. And what have been some of the highlights for the tour so far? I know that you were just in Cleveland at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Loved that place.
Well, actually, everybody but myself got to go. I had to do a radio performance, and I got back and they were just getting back from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they were just saying, "Oh, we had such a great day," and I was, "Thanks, guys. Thanks for waiting." Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Cleveland was good, and we had a huge show in Chicago at the House of Blues, which was sold out, so that was great.
And we know that before this is a headline tour, but before you were doing opening tours, what adjustments have you had to make from going from opening to headlining?
I mean, the big difference is that when you're doing an opening slot, you're always limited to how long you can play for. So when you do the first, like if you're the first of three, you might only get a half an hour. And then I think when we were touring with Imagine Dragons, we got like 40, 45 minutes, whereas now you can do as long as you want. So I think the set's probably closer to 70 or 75 minutes now. So we can just do what we want. Yeah.
So while on tour, you've been joined by some incredible bands, such as Family of the Year, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr., and we also with the Postels, The Neighborhood. I mean, the list is endless. But out of all the groups you've toured with so far, who do you think might just be the next big thing?
I mean, I think that if they're not already there, I think that The Neighborhood, obviously on their way to big things. I mean, they're a great band. They've got some great songs and a really kind of unique sound. So I feel like it'd be a safe bet to put your money on The Neighborhood right now.
And so I know everyone's already keeping an eye on them, and they've been playing it on the radio a ton. And the other thing I wanted to mention is it seems like you really like to keep your fans in the loop, especially through Facebook, and I've seen all of your tour photos from Instagram. So I was just wondering, I saw the one of all the board games. So what else do you like to do while keeping yourself busy on tour?
Well, actually, I've got my studio set up just here. Well, it's kind of half set up right now. But the good thing about having a bus is when we're traveling, it's easier to write than when we were doing tours in vans. So I mean, working on the next album is one of the things I like to do. Actually, I just went for a run as well, just down this road. So that's the non-rock and roll side of Atlas Genius.
And when we last spoke, it was a week after the release of your latest record. So I was just wondering, since that was all the way back in February, what are your thoughts on the album now there's been some time to reflect on it?
I think, like all albums, there should be a documentation of where the band was at that point. And we've toured for over a year now since that album was pretty much finished. Even though it came out in Feb, we finished it a few months before that. So, like, I'm proud of the album, and I'm sure that, if the thing about an album is you'd always do things differently, but that's the beauty of being a human being and growing and being a musician and evolving. So I think that the next album there'll be things that we'll do slightly differently, but overall I'm proud of that album.
And the other thing that I wanted to bring up is your cover. You recently did a cover of Daft Punk's Get Lucky. Yeah. So it's a really good cover, but we were just curious if there's anything upcoming or in the near future that we'll be able to hear.
Yeah, we actually recorded a couple of covers just for fun when we were in New York finishing the album, but we haven't actually released those. So I mean, they might come out at some point, or we might just forget about it. But it's funny. But the Daft Punk cover I learnt that 6 hours before, the night before we did it. We were actually in Amsterdam, and they just said, "Oh, we'd like you to play a cover as well as your own stuff." So I learnt that 6 hours before. So I didn't expect anyone would hear it, and then I got blogged about it and sort of spread. So had I known, I probably would have spent more time.
What was the inspiration behind picking that one song under such short notice?
Well, at that point, it was the most played song in the world. Like it had just come out at that point, and we liked it as well. So I thought I'd just do like a Radiohead meets I don't know, Beck version of it. Yeah.
So we know that as for the future, we'll be able to hear some upcoming covers. But what else would like a fortune teller predict for the future of Atlas Genius?
Well, as far as music goes, we're doing some work with some other musicians and DJs. We'll just see what comes of that. You can never really predict, but we're doing that for just kind of for fun. There's a few other things coming up, like side projects, but they're all sort of works in progress. So some will come to fruition, some may not ever be finished. But and I'd love to do a movie score at some point. I'd love to do a soundtrack. So when the time is right, that'll happen.
And you just mentioned movies there. I was just curious, if you could feature any Atlas Genius song in any movie, which movie would you choose?
Well, we actually have a couple of songs that are probably going to be in a movie that's coming out early next year, called Almanac. So, as far as I know, I think that we'll have a song in that. But that's the movie I would choose, because we did choose it.
Okay, so then we're at the very last question of the interview, which is, what is the best part of being in Atlas Genius?
Obviously, for the other guys, they get to hang out with me. I think the best part of being touring and getting to play to different audiences around the world. That's the best part of it. I mean, it's a great travel job. I recommend everyone getting in a band and traveling. It's great.
Okay, perfect. So that was the last question of the interview. Once again, I am Alicia Toot from Music Blog Yeah, and this is our interview with Atlas Genius. Thank you for speaking with me today. Bye.